Hello there, and welcome to our Monday Business News Report. We now start off with our feature on the show today. Now, one of the highlights of the week that was the report In a Better Future for All Nigerians, Nigeria Poverty Assessment 2022 report by the World Bank. The global body in the new report says 4 in 10 Nigerians live below the national poverty line. The Washington-based bank also says that the government's poverty reduction efforts are hampered by sluggish growth, low human capital, labor market weaknesses, and exposure to shocks. According to the report, only about 17% of Nigerian workers hold jobs capable to lift people out of poverty. Well, joining me now virtually to discuss this and more, I have Michael Ilo, an economist. Thank you very much for joining us on the Breakfast Show this morning, Mr. Ilo.
Yeah, thank you, David. Thanks for having me.
Now, the World Bank has warned that macroeconomic frailties, shocks and uncertainty may hamper Nigeria's poverty reduction measures, pushing many more people further into deprivation. Now, in a sum, as the Buahari administration draws to an end, how would you assess the poverty reduction and growth strategy so far under this administration? We saw last year the approval of the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy paper, which was a scheme to accelerate the reduction in poverty through economic growth, social protection, and other programs. Your thoughts on the strategy so far?
Thanks, David, again. I think if you look at it from basic principles, the intention is clearly there. The will is there on the part of the president and maybe the people working with him. Where I see the lacuna is in the methods being adopted. Poverty growth reduction, anchor borrowers program, anchor farmers, and the rest. They are good intentioned programs, but at the basic level of where the rubber meets the road, there is a lot that is still missing. That is why you see what the World Bank has said, that we don't have enough data at the micro level. There is macro data, you talk of inflation, you talk of unemployment, but what are we exactly doing for the average man on the street? I punched some numbers yesterday and discovered that if, for the most part, if both husband and wife are working and they're living on minimum wage, if they have more than one child, then they are living below the poverty line. This is unacceptable. This is 5 years or 7 years into this administration. And instead of lifting 10 million people out of poverty, we are being told that we are at risk of putting another 5 million into the basket that is already filled with poverty. So government has its work cut out. You have to look at data at the micro level. You have to target everything you are doing in terms of fighting poverty. You have to direct it at the people who actually need it. There are a lot of middlemen in Nigeria. Look at the anchor borrowers program. When you go on interviews, when you deal with the farmers who are actually the ones plowing the fields, you find out that it is some big men somewhere with portfolios that are collecting the loan and dishing it out to them at exorbitant rates. The rates are not, the benefits are not really accruing at the level that will impact the economy. We talk of encouraging people to find jobs, to create jobs for themselves. The jobs being created by the young people in Nigeria, they are not the ideal jobs that will make their lives better. I can tell you that. Imagine somebody who has masters in business administration, selling something online to the tune of 1,500 naira, and they cannot scale up these businesses. People who are working for the most part in salaried employment and are well paid, they live better lives than people that are doing businesses. Only when you are doing business and there's no power to supply whatever it is you are doing. Imagine you are selling ice blocks, for instance, for people who want to do party. And at the end of the day, there is no power for 3-4 days at the time in the name of national grid has collapsed. You can't afford the alternate power supply. Your business is grounded, your life is in shambles. So government has to look at things that will holistically benefit the poor in society. There are more poor people in the north than in the south, but that does not mean that the south doesn't have its own fair share of poor people all over the place, especially in the rural areas. Government should look holistically, get people who can give them solutions, who can help them work at it and engage them so that the average lives of Nigerians can be made better.
But now, to what extent do you see the severity of poverty extend as the global economy really is now dealing with heightened inflation due to global disruptions like the Russia-Ukraine crisis and its impact on countries, most especially those heavily dependent on food import, as most countries within the sub-Saharan region, even the African continent as a whole, and looking at the United States, Europe, and other areas, those dependent on food imports. Now, there is a rise in food crisis. How do you see the severity intensifying? Many more people are falling below the poverty line.
Well, it's quite severe because in one side, you look at it that, okay, if we sell the same volume of crude oil for more, Nigeria will be richer. But when your economy is dependent only on imports to the tune of 90%, how do you make gain out of that? Because the same supply shock that is causing the price of crude oil to go up is making the price of whatever products you are buying from abroad to come down, to also go up rather. So these are the issues we have to contend with, other than substituting our imports for locally grown commodities, or even fashioning an export-led economy like what the South Koreans and other Asian tigers have done. We are going to continue to have problems. It's been 7 years for this administration.
Exactly.
The administration is winding down, but since government is a continuum, there's nothing stopping a good administration from laying the good foundation. They are doing one or two things in infrastructure, but it's not enough. And
that's
you
not
have to
enough,
look at
really.
People,
if I may butt in here now,
their life better.
For the voting populace, because we are in a heavy political season, and then for the new political aspirants and entrants, how do you think this defines the slate for sound economic agenda to come to bear once this administration is over? Because poverty alleviation requires consistent and clear-cut plans. For the voting populace, what's your word to them as we'll be going to the polls come next year? And those who are coming into power, who are looking to be voted for, how do you think their economic agenda has to be, the blueprint has to be, to ensure that we have the masses see some ease, really?
Well, the more things change, the more they remain the same. We've seen this all over and over again. The only thing that we hope will change will be the determination coupled with knowledge. Because it's one thing to have good intentions, another thing for you to know how to put a team together that can deliver results and to actually be accountable. We have a lack of accountability in public governance in Nigeria, where people do what they feel they can and they get away with it. You know, EFCC does its best, but at the end of the day, they know that, okay, whether you like it or not, the chairman of EFCC will be removed one of these days, and it's business as usual. So nobody actually gets to be accountable for anything they do while in office. If we are lucky enough and Daniel comes to judgment, maybe we can begin to set the foundation for a greater tomorrow. Somebody said the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. I will expect Mr. President, I will plead with him to listen to the economic team and ask them what is the way forward. How can we make sure that the good intention policies we have been talking about over the past few years can actually deliver and make at least a dent on the lives of the average Nigerian. I'm sure it's better than ever. We will start again now.
Thank you so much for your time on The Breakfast Show this morning. We've been speaking with economist Mayokun Ilo. Thank you once again.